Hello, welcome everybody. So let's move on to looking at linking in OET writing. So I have a poll for you all first. Read these 3 paragraphs, and I would like you to choose on the poll, not the chat, which paragraph do you think is more effective? Paragraph 1, paragraph 2, or paragraph 3. So please vote in the poll that should be there on your screen now. Okay. Getting a few votes in now. Okay. Yep. Make sure you read all the paragraphs before choosing. Okay, just a few more seconds to answer the poll. Okay, let's have a look. Don't worry if you didn't have time to finish. So the majority of you are saying paragraph 3. So some of you saying paragraph 1, some of you saying paragraph 2. Well, I can confirm that the more effective paragraph, I mean, there's positives of all of them, but the more effective paragraph is paragraph 3 in terms of linking. Paragraph 1, there's 0 linking and it reads like a list. She will need her BP checked twice a day. Her medication needs monitoring. Her remaining staples are due for removal. Her wound can remain exposed. So it reads like a list and there's no connection between the information, especially the last 2 pieces of information, which are connected. Okay. If you look at number 3, after which her wound can remain exposed, we want to express to the reader that after the 12th of December, the wound can be left undressed. So I think the connection is important there. In paragraph 2, there's just too many linking expressions. Yeah. Every single sentence has got a linking expression, and some of them are inappropriate. For example, moreover is not appropriate for OET. Furthermore is a little bit academic. They're not the best linkers to use. And we've got so many here, it just confuses the reader rather than helping the reader. So let's take a closer look at linkers. Let me know what you think in the chat box. How important is linking in OET writing, and why is it important? Let me know your thoughts in the chat box, please. Why is linking important in OET writing? Absolutely. Yep. We've got lots of ideas coming through. Connect the ideas, guide the reader for the purposes of easy understanding, flow, connection, maintain the flow. So pointing to specific things, deliver a good message. Yeah, absolutely. These are all great responses. So it's important because linkers add clarity to the information. They make information clear. They help a text flow. And they also show the reader how information is connected. So we're going to look at some common linkers. First of all, I have a little activity for you. So I'd like you in the chat box this time to match the linkers to their use. So you can write, number 1 is A, B, C, or D. Number 2 is A or B. Okay, let me know in the chat what you think. So match the linkers A, B, C, D to their uses 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me know in the chat. Okay. Yep, got some good ideas coming through. Yep, everyone's chosen the same one for number 1. I think that was quite easy. All right, let's take a look together. So adding information in addition is a good one to use. Contrasting, however. Sequencing, we've got prior to the operation, meaning before. And expressing cause and effect, due to. So depending on what you're trying to express, you can use different linking expressions. So here are some useful linkers that you might use. So for adding information, these are some common ones: in addition to. So in addition, this is usually at the beginning of a sentence, okay? And it's followed by a comma. Whereas in addition to is usually used in the middle of a sentence, no comma, and it functions like the word and. Okay? It can't be used at the beginning of a sentence. Also, it's best to use this within a sentence, not at the beginning of a sentence, because it's a little bit too informal for writing. For speaking, it's fine. So put it here before the main action verb. Okay, so she was also prescribed a daily diuretic. And as well as works in the same way as in addition to. Yeah, it basically means and we use it in the middle of a sentence, no commas. Yeah, she has become socially withdrawn from friends as well as refusing to eat with her family. And it's followed by a noun. Okay, so this is quite clear. So we need to do in addition to plus noun. Okay. The same for, oops. Put it back there, plus noun. The same for as well as, yeah, in as well as plus noun. In addition, it's followed by a clause. A clause simply meaning got the verb, the subject, the verb, etc. Okay. And also goes within the clause. So let's look at contrasting information. We might need to use this in our letters. But is a very simple one, but very effective. Don't have to use complicated language. So Mr. Khan can mobilize short distances with a wheelie walker, but requires assistance with showering. And but always goes in the middle of a sentence, no commas and never at the beginning. However, can go in the middle of a sentence, but it's more commonly used at the beginning of a sentence, followed by a comma and then a clause. So however plus clause. Yeah, so Ms. Jenkins has received extensive physiotherapy sessions and been provided with mobility aids. However, she is not confident ambulating independently and lacks motivation to improve. And then we have despite, which many people find difficult to use. So I advise only using this if you are confident that you know how it works and that you're using it correctly. Many people tend to use despite when it's not needed. So we've got, for example, here, she is experiencing increased pain and difficulty mobilizing despite taking regular Panadol Osteo. So despite is used in this way. So it's like, even though she's taking regular Panadol Osteo, she's still experiencing pain. So it's used for emphasizing the contrast. And despite is followed by, so here we always follow it by the ing form of the verb, or a noun, or the fact that plus a clause. Okay, so you've got to make quite complicated structure. So if you're going to use it, make sure you're using it correctly. So we've got the example here of how we use it with a clause, with the ing form. Yeah, there's the example. If we wanted to use the noun, it would be despite regular Panadol Osteo. And if we wanted to use it with the clause and the fact that, we'd say, despite the fact that she is taking regular Panadol Osteo. Okay, so if you're going to do the clause, it needs to be like a complete sentence. Yeah, she is taking. All right. Moving on to sequencing. This often happens quite a lot in OET letters. You might be, it's when you tell the reader when things happen. So you often use dates, but as well as dates, you might use some of these expressions here. Okay, so dates, you might use this to describe, you know, is it now, was it before, in hospital, or in this consultation, or before that? Okay, it's really helpful for the reader. So here are a couple of examples. So you might have for describing hospital treatment. On admission, she presented with shortness of breath and widespread wheezing. Currently, she is febrile but continues to experience persistent coughing. After discharge, it would be appreciated if you could monitor her cough and encourage her to continue with the recommended chest exercises. So by using those sequencing linkers, the reader's really clear as to when the symptoms were happening. You know, on admission was this. Now it's this. After discharge, I need you to do this. Okay. Cause and effect can also be used in OET letters. These are some common ones. And I've got a few examples for you here. So therefore is usually used at the beginning of a sentence followed by a comma, but it can go within a sentence as well. So here's an example. She reports that she has not been compliant with the recommended exercises and has not attended her scheduled physiotherapy session. So here you've got the cause. Okay, you've got the reason for what we're about to read now. Therefore, she lacks progress and continues to require assistance with her daily activities. So there's the effect, and the cause is non-compliance. Okay. If we look at another one, her mobility has reduced significantly over the last 6 months as a result of increased pain. So therefore is usually followed by a clause. The same for consequently. Yeah, consequently, she lacks progress. As a result, we can do as a result, comma, and then a clause, or as a result of, and then we use the noun or the ing form. Okay, the same for due to and because of. These are followed by the noun or the ing form. Okay, so it's important to get the form correct so that your accuracy remains high. Right. Relative clauses are another way to link ideas together. So here I have 3 sentences and they're missing a word. So in the chat, let me know for numbers 1, 2, and 3, how could you complete it? With what relative pronouns? So who, which, where, etc. What relative pronoun would you use for each of these sentences? Let me know in the chat box now. Mm-hmm. Great, some great ideas. Absolutely. Let's take a look together. So yeah, he underwent a colonoscopy, which revealed, so it's the colonoscopy revealed. Thank you for seeing Mr. Smith. So it should be Mrs. Smith there. Mrs. Smith, a 46-year-old woman who presents with. So it's talking about the woman who. She was admitted to the emergency department where she underwent an emergency cesarean. So the where referring to emergency department. So it's a really good way of linking ideas together in a clear way. We're going to look now at a few linkers that I found my students tend to struggle with. They can be a little bit confusing. It might be, for example, what form to use after them, or in which situations we use the linkers, or perhaps where in the sentence. So first two is for which versus after which. Do you know the difference? Well, for which we could use to join these two sentences together. Okay, it's explaining how things are connected. Okay, it's kind of like the cause and effect. So he has had hypertension since 2018. Ramipril 5 milligrams is prescribed for his hypertension. So we're connecting them together using for which to avoid repetition. So we could say he has had hypertension since 2018, for which Ramipril 5 milligrams is prescribed. So it goes in the middle of the sentence and it's referring to the hypertension, for his hypertension. After which is more to do with sequencing, when. So we've got here, her staples are due for removal on the 8th of December. The wound can remain exposed after the staples have been removed. So we want to avoid repetition. So we could say her staples are due for removal on the 8th of December, after which the wound can remain exposed. So the after which referring to after the 8th of December. So as in the appointment. Also, in addition, also causes problems occasionally. The main thing with also is inappropriate use. So a lot of people use also at the beginning of a sentence, and in writing is a little bit informal. So we'd recommend using it within a sentence. So you've got here, for example, here, he presented with fever, shortness of breath, and widespread wheezing. Also, he had a persistent cough causing chest pain. It's okay, but I would say it's probably better to put the also within the sentence. So he also had a persistent cough causing chest pain before the main verb. If you want to put a linking expression at the beginning of a sentence, in addition is more appropriate. So here he presented with fever, shortness of breath, and widespread wheezing. In addition, he had a persistent cough. As well as also get misused quite a lot. People tend to use as well in the middle of a sentence, and you can't. This is incorrect. He presented with fever, shortness of breath, and widespread wheezing, as well a persistent cough. No, it doesn't work. If you're going to use as well, it would go at the end of a sentence, but I don't think it's the best one to use. Okay, I would say he also had a persistent cough, or in addition, he had a persistent cough. I think that's probably better to do. However, if you want to use as well as a connector, meaning and, we can, but we'd have to do it like this. Yeah, he presented with fever, shortness of breath, and widespread wheezing, as well as a persistent cough causing chest pain. And here it means and. Very similar to in addition to. So if you're putting it in the middle of a sentence, it must be as well as, not just as well. Similarly, in addition to is often misused. Yeah, often people use in addition as a linking expression, so as the connector within a sentence. So he presented with fever, shortness of breath, and widespread wheezing, in addition a persistent cough. No, you cannot use in addition on its own in the middle of a sentence. We must use in addition to, exactly the same way as we talked about as well as. Yeah, he presented with this, this, and this, in addition to persistent cough. Or we can split it into two sentences. He presented with da, 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 full stop. In addition, he had a persistent cough. Okay, and remember that in addition to is followed by the noun. Yeah, in addition to a persistent cough, and in addition is followed by a comma and a clause. He had. So you need to add that extra verb there. So practice. In the chat box, very quickly, which linkers would you use to complete this paragraph? Please let me know and reference the numbers in the chat box. What do you think? So Mr. Jones continues to experience some pain. Panadol can be given as required. What do we think? Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah, some good answers. And then number 2, he is able to mobilize with a frame. He requires assistance with his activities of daily living. What could go for number 2? He has physiotherapy at the outpatients once a week. I would appreciate it if you could monitor his adherence to the physiotherapy exercises. What could go in number 3? And number 4, he will attend hydrotherapy sessions twice a week. What could go there? Okay. Okay, yeah, great. Yeah, some people putting some good examples. All right, let's have a look. So here are some examples. I think Mr. Jones continued to experience some pain for which. So the Panadol is given for the pain. I think but is the best one to use. Therefore does not work here because he can mobilize with the frame. Therefore, he requires assistance. No, you're contrasting here. You're talking about a positive. He can mobilize, but he needs assistance with his daily activities. And I think it's just the simplest connector to use here. And I've put in addition here is the best phrase to use. Okay, so it's very important that things like therefore and however, if you include them, that they are telling the right story. So for example, if you put therefore here, it just doesn't work. You're not making him attend hydrotherapy sessions because of the physiotherapy sessions. It's an additional thing. So you've got to make sure that if you're using a contrast, there's a contrast to be expressed. And if you're using cause and effect, there's cause and effect to be expressed. Okay, last little activity. I've got here 5 sentences. Some of them are correct, some of them are incorrect. Let me know in the chat box now which sentences have errors. You don't need to tell me what the corrections are, just tell me the numbers of the sentences which have errors. Let me know in the chat box now. So we're talking about linking expressions here, yeah? Okay. Yeah, great. Lots of people going for number 1 and number 4, number 2, maybe, number 5. All right. Let's have a look. The errors are in numbers 1, 4, and 5. So number 2 and number 3 are absolutely fine. You're using in addition to as a linking expression, yeah, meaning and. So Mr. Jones presented with dizziness, sore eyes, and blurred vision in addition to ongoing fatigue. Number 3 is fine. You're saying, you know, she has limited mobility due to increased pain. So because of the pain, that's absolutely fine. If we look at number 1, it's not after which, it's, as most of you notice, for which. With number 4, it's okay, but it's better to have the also within the sentence. So he also reports loss of appetite. Or you could change it to in addition, comma, he reports. And then the last one, despite is followed by, remember, the noun or the ing form, not the clause. We'd have to have despite the fact that. So we would change it to despite regular physiotherapy. So here we've got the noun. Or we could say despite having regular physiotherapy. Or we could also say despite the fact that she has had regular physiotherapy. But it's rather long. So I think the most concise and clear way to do it is despite regular physiotherapy, or despite maybe having regular physiotherapy. Okay, so to practice, look at sample letters, notice the use of linkers, and write example sentences in lots of different contexts. You need to be confident in using linkers. This is some advice from OET. So they should offer additional information to the reader. Okay, and avoid using academic connectors such as furthermore and moreover, and don't use informal connectors such as besides or meanwhile. They just don't work in an OET letter. And also be wary of using unnecessary connectors in your sentences. You might only use 1 or 2 in the whole letter. You don't have to overdo it. It's so important that you don't add too many linkers just for the sake of it. So, top tips, only use linkers you feel confident using. Don't overdo it, only using it if it adds something. Yeah, if you look at a paragraph and you've got 5 linkers in it, it's too many. 1, maybe 2. Avoid academic linkers. So no moreover, it just doesn't work. It's not appropriate. Okay. If you have any questions, please put them in the question and answer box on your Zoom toolbar, please. Not in the chat. I will answer the questions in the Q&A box. We have one minute to answer a couple of questions. So if you have any, please pop them in the Q&A box. Okay. All right, I have a question here from Jamal George. If a patient is having too many disease conditions and medication, how can we combine those information? A very good question. Yeah, because you could say, you know, he has hypertension for which ramipril is prescribed. He has for which warfarin, you know, if you do it like that, it's too many. I would just say, check that they're relevant to the case, and I would suggest saying something like he has hypertension, diabetes, and chronic leg ulcers, and his current medication includes this, this, and this. Yeah, so I would say combine it in that way would be the best way to do it. Okay, so the way that's most concise and clear for the reader. Okay, well, if there are no more questions, thank you very much for attending today. Oh, we have one more question. The patient has one disease along with multiple medication. Is it necessary to write the information in detail? It depends what the reader needs to know. Okay, I think yes, if it's relating to the case. He has this for which he is on this, this, or this. So if you have a question, you can always contact us on our website. The link's in the chat now. Don't forget the live session on Tuesday with Bethan. Be sure to register for that. That's next Tuesday. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook. We're posting links to live lessons and tips and strategies all the time, as well as our other social media as well. And be sure to check out our website. We've got lots of preparation courses for you. Okay, many different packages depending on your needs. So please go to our website and see how we can help you. Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for your time. Have a great week, and I'll see you next week. Bethan, I'll see you next week in the live lesson, or tomorrow if you're one of our Reach OETB customers. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.